And welcome into another edition of A Closer Look. I'm your host, Dwayne Nelson, and with me today in the studio is Lisa Coffer. She's the Executive Director of United Way of Bristol. Glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I tell you, it's amazing things that are going on with United Way and all the different organizations in the Tri-Cities. And your organization has been around for how long?
We started out as a community chest in the early 1940s and transitioned over to United Way later on, and have been around for a long time.
And I'm sure it keeps you busy with trying to get everything together all year and all through the year.
It does. People jokingly say, well, you run your campaign for a few months and then you sit back and, eat bonbons. But no, it's 24/7, 365. We stay busy doing things to help our community be a better place. And so we're constantly working on how we can do that and help people.
Well, I appreciate the job you all do, because it is it's a job that covers a vast area, and that sometimes gets a little difficult to do, doesn't it?
It does.
So what's going on right now with United Way of Bristol these days?
Well, we are constantly looking at ways to raise money, not just during the campaign, but outside of the campaign as well, because we have 26 local agencies that we support that represent more than 40 programs in our community that provide affordable after-school care for kids, battered women's shelter, affordable health care and things like that. But right now we're starting a new program in Bristol called Jobs for Life. We actually have a big meeting tomorrow regionally with some folks to look at how we can implement this in Bristol this fall. But it works with people that are chronically unemployed, and it helps them to go through an 8-week process of 2 nights a week, a class. We partner with local churches, with local businesses to help these folks to have a better understanding of why it's so important that they work and take care of their families. And so many times people just don't have the skills they need to get a good paying job. And so many times they go and apply for jobs, and then, they don't get the job. And after they've done that, a lot of times, then they just feel, downtrodden and what can I do to help? And so this program is based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, has been very successful in a lot of other communities. So we are really excited about bringing our community together and being able to offer these classes for folks so that we can get these folks back to work and to be able to take care of their families.
Now, is there a way to sign up for this or to qualify for this, or are there some stipulations there that has to be in place?
Basically, they just need to, be looking for a job and unable to find a job. It is not a job placement service. We don't, work with employers in the community to get these folks hired afterwards. But what happens so many times, and has happened in other communities, is once they go through this 8-week process, and there's mentors involved that help them, and a lot of things that go into those classes, then they become, better to be employed. And so HR folks are looking at them more closely, and it actually helps to, encourage them to find work. So there's, really no criteria other than they need to be, wanting to look for a job, and maybe they haven't worked in quite a while.
Now, you talk about the 26 member agencies and how that all works and plays into part,
Yes.
but a lot of these agencies really depend on United Way's contribution each year.
Yes, they do. In fact, we just went through our evaluations and allocations process, which is where we bring community volunteers together. They go out and they review these agencies and look at their applications for funding, and we do that annually. And then they come back together as a group and decide how much money they feel that agency needs. And there's never enough money for what the agencies ask for, so it's difficult. Our board comes together and, which is a group of local volunteers, and looks historically at what we've raised, what we think we can raise, and comes up with a figure, and then we give that figure to the volunteers, and then that's the pool of funds they have to work with. And so, it's very difficult to be able to go into these agencies and see the wonderful work that they do and know that, we need to raise more money. But so many of them depend on keeping the doors open and being able to serve people through the funds that we provide, and many of them couldn't do what they do without those United Way funds.
What would be the message that you would give workers and people that are employed at businesses that have the means in which to give. When it comes time for United Way's annual campaign, what would you say to them that would encourage them to dig a little deeper?
Well, United Way is the one organization in any community, Bristol included, where you can give a little bit of money and it goes a long way. Because we're going to take what I raise, we're going to add it to what you raise, we're going to add it to what the next person raises, and put all that together and get that back out into the community. And the other thing I would say is that we work with not just elderly folks, medium income folks, or children. We work with all segments of the population. So we've got a lot of working people out there right now that just really struggle to keep a roof over their heads, and they're working so hard. And so these programs are available, for instance, if someone's car breaks down and they have to use what they would pay for rent or mortgage to get their car back running so that they can go to work, then there are agencies out there that can help pay their rent that month. It's not a handout, it's a hand up.
Right.
And we look at it as a safety net of services for folks, so that when they're traveling along through life and everything's going okay, and then something happens, then United Way is there to help. And we're only able to do that because of the generosity of folks in our community.
Right, because a lot of times you don't really realize what you do until you need it.
That's exactly right. And a lot of times we get so busy with our own lives.
Right.
We have a lot of working poor in our community as well as in our region, and that's not something that's specific just to our area either. That's a national problem. And a lot of times if you're going back and forth to work every day and taking your kids to play sports and going to church on Sunday and all that, you just don't see the issues that are right there in front of you. And if you have children, there may be kids sitting beside of your children in school that, don't know where they're going to lay their head that night, don't know if they're going to have a meal on the table when they get home. And those are things that a lot of times people don't think of. And that's what these programs do. They provide services when people are in need.
And you can talk about the fact that each year your goal increases a little, and that is to, I'm sure, offset the expense and costs of other things that are going on that you have to provide throughout the community.
Well, and it's like I said earlier, we could raise, twice as much money as we're raising, and we could put it out there in the community and there would still be needs.
Right.
Several years ago, one of the things that United Way of Bristol does every 5 to 7 years is a community needs assessment. And we actually work with folks in the community to find out what they feel are the greatest needs. Then we get the results of that and we look at what, how those are ranked, and then we determine what is available in the community that can help with those needs, and if there's not programs available, what we can do to provide those resources. And about 6 or 7 years ago, we did a community needs assessment, and we already knew this as a staff and board that we had a lot of families with children that were homeless, and but this validated that. And it enabled us to start bringing together community leaders around the table to look at what services we have. In Bristol, we have wonderful emergency services through the Salvation Army and the Haven of Rest. So if somebody needs a place to stay for a couple of days or a week, they can stay there and get a hot meal and that kind of thing. But longer term services for homeless families we didn't have, and that's how our Family Promise of Bristol program was born. And we're still housing folks in that program for 3 to 6 months and longer if they need to. But once they go through that process, they're able to go back out on their own, be able to have a good paying job where they can afford to take care of themselves and their family. And many times they will continue on and never need help again. But they do know that the services are there if they hit a bump in the road. So we are constantly looking in our community to see what needs are out there and how we can fill and meet those needs.
Now, when will your campaign start this year? I know you have the pace setter that kind of precedes everything.
Well, we kick off regionally with Johnson City and Kingsport and Elizabethton the middle of August, and we will all run our Pacesetter campaigns for about a month. And so then we will kick off our community-wide campaigns in each of our communities first or second week of September. And that's when the community-wide campaign really gets rolling. So, you know, in another couple of months, we'll be out there.
Absolutely. And then how can people become involved in the Pacesetter campaign?
All they need to do, they can give us a call at 423-968-4912, stop by our office at 315 8th Street, or email our website, unitedwaybristol.org, and we can get them set up to do that. And can I mention one last thing? We're getting ready to kick off Week of Caring next week with our other United Ways here locally, and Bank of Tennessee is our sponsor, and we're really excited about that, to have projects going on in our communities to help our agencies with wish list things in their, agencies, but also to get these people out in the community and to see what our agencies do.
And it just helps for everybody in the community to get involved in programs like United Way.
Absolutely.
And it's a very easy way to do that. All you have to do is, as Lisa said, give them a call, or you can go online and check it out that way. We are talking with Lisa Coffer, the Executive Director of United Way of Bristol, and I'll be back to talk more here on A Closer Look.